Alex had always considered himself a trusting husband. He and Lisa had been together for 10 years, married for 7, and built what he thought was a solid, loving relationship. But over the last few months, something had changed. It started with small things. She became more secretive with her phone, laughing at texts she wouldn't share. Then came the sudden work meetings that stretched late into the night, the unexplained absences, and a general coldness that seeped into their home like an unwelcome guest. At first, he told himself he was imagining things. Lisa was beautiful, charming, and outgoing. Maybe she was just stressed from work. But then, little signs became impossible to ignore. She started dressing up more than usual, wearing perfume he hadn't smelled in years, and making excuses that didn't quite add up. One evening, when she said she was going out for a girls' night, Alex casually asked which friends she was meeting. She hesitated for just a second too long. It was a tiny thing, barely noticeable, but his gut twisted in warning. That night, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He waited until he knew Lisa would be out, then checked the bathroom trash. Among the tissues and makeup wipes, he spotted something unusual, a receipt from a fancy restaurant across town. The problem? It wasn't dated for tonight. It was from last Friday, a night Lisa had sworn she was working late. His chest tightened as realization set in. Determined to uncover the truth, Alex began paying closer attention. He checked their shared bank account and saw charges that didn't align with the story she told him: hotel bookings, extravagant dinners, even a charge for a jewelry store. His hands shook as he scrolled through the transactions. Lisa had been lying to him. Still, Alex wasn't the type to jump to conclusions without proof. He decided to do what any man pushed to his limits would do. He dug deeper. One day, while Lisa was in the shower, she left her phone unattended, something she never did anymore. His heart pounded as he picked it up, his fingers moving quickly. She had set up Face ID, but luck was on his side when a notification preview flashed on the screen. "Brian, can't stop thinking about last night. You were incredible. ****. Alex felt his stomach drop. His worst fears were confirmed. But who was Brian? Over the next few days, Alex played the part of the oblivious husband, but behind the scenes, he was investigating. He checked Lisa's social media, scanning for connections. It didn't take long to find Brian, a man in his early 40s, well-dressed, successful. But there was something else that caught Alex's attention. Brian was married. The realization hit Alex like a punch to the gut. Lisa wasn't just sneaking around. She was involved with a man who was also lying to someone else. It was a double betrayal, a secret that had the potential to destroy more than just their marriage. Alex didn't act immediately. He knew if he confronted Lisa now, she would lie, gaslight, maybe even turn the blame on him. No, he needed to be smart. He needed undeniable proof. And more than that, he needed a plan. A plan to expose them both in the most devastating way possible. His mind was racing with ideas, but one thing was clear: Lisa and Brian had no idea what was coming. Alex spent the next few days carefully piecing together his plan. He wasn't going to confront Lisa in private and give her the chance to twist the story or cry her way out of it. No, this needed to be public, humiliating, and absolute. He had been a faithful, devoted husband, and she had treated him like a fool. It was time for her to feel the same gut-wrenching betrayal he had suffered. His first step was gathering undeniable proof. He installed a small GPS tracker in Lisa's car, something she would never notice. Within 2 days, he had confirmation of her regular visits to a high-end hotel across town. That was all he needed. The final nail in the coffin came when he went through their shared home computer and found that Lisa had carelessly left her email logged in. Scrolling through, he found messages between her and Brian. Plans for future rendezvous, messages filled with passion and secrecy. He forwarded the emails to himself, his fury growing with each word. Then, just as he was about to shut the computer, something else caught his attention. An email from Brian's wife. At first, he thought she was writing to Lisa, but after reading it, he realized she had no idea about the affair. It was a regular email, a message about a social event Brian had promised to attend with her. Alex felt a sharp pang of sympathy. This woman had no clue her husband was sneaking around behind her back, just like Alex had been blindsided. That's when the perfect idea struck him. Instead of just exposing Lisa, he was going to make sure Brian's entire world imploded, too. The opportunity presented itself sooner than he expected. Lisa casually mentioned that she and her friends were having a party the following Saturday, a fancy gathering where everyone would be dressed up, drinking expensive wine, and celebrating life. She even encouraged Alex to come, as if her guilty conscience was trying to play nice. That's when Alex set his plan in motion. He reached out to Brian's wife, Sarah. The conversation was delicate. He had to make sure she believed him without overwhelming her. But once he sent over the email screenshots and hotel receipts, her disbelief turned into rage. He told me he had late meetings. He promised me he was working extra hours to save for vacation, she fumed. Alex let her vent, understanding her pain all too well. Then he told her about the party. "If you want the truth, meet me there," he said. "You deserve to see it for yourself." Sarah didn't hesitate. With that piece in place, Alex focused on the final details. He printed out the incriminating emails, text messages, and even pictures Lisa had sent to Brian. He placed them neatly in a sleek black envelope. The night of the party arrived, and Alex played his role perfectly. He dressed sharply, wore a calm smile, and acted as if nothing was wrong. Lisa had no idea what was coming. She kissed him on the cheek before they left, her lips warm but meaningless. At the venue, the atmosphere was lively. Music played, laughter filled the air, and Lisa was in her element, chatting and laughing with her friends. Alex spotted Brian across the room, his arm casually draped around a glass of whiskey, completely unaware that his world was about to shatter. Then, right on cue, Sarah walked in. The energy in the room shifted immediately. Lisa didn't notice at first, but Brian did. His face went pale, his confident demeanor crumbling. Sarah was holding a folder in her hand, the same proof Alex had sent her. Showtime. Alex clinked his glass and stood in the center of the room. "I'd like to make a toast," he announced, smiling. "To my beautiful wife, Lisa." Lisa beamed at him, unaware of the storm about to hit. "And to Brian," Alex continued, his voice steady but ice-cold, "for showing me that trust is the easiest thing to break." A murmur ran through the crowd. Lisa's smile faltered. Brian set his glass down. "I found out something interesting this past week," Alex went on. "It turns out my wife and Brian have been sneaking around behind my back. Lying, cheating, meeting in secret." He pulled the envelope from his pocket. "And since we're all such good friends here, I thought it would be nice to share the details." The room fell into stunned silence. Then, chaos erupted. Lisa's face turned ghostly pale as the weight of Alex's words sank in. Around them, gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd. Some guests exchanged uneasy glances, while others stared wide-eyed, eagerly awaiting the fallout. Brian's reaction was just as telling. His grip tightened around his whiskey glass, his knuckles turning white. His gaze darted between Lisa and Alex, desperate to find an escape route from the impending disaster. But there was none. Alex took his time, pulling out a stack of printed emails and text messages from the black envelope. He held them up for everyone to see, giving a mocking smile as he flipped through the pages. "Here, for those who are curious, are some lovely messages between my dear wife and our good friend Brian." He cleared his throat and read aloud in a dramatic voice. "I can't stop thinking about last night. You are incredible. Wish I could wake up next to you every morning. Lisa let out a sharp gasp, her hand flying to her mouth. Someone in the crowd stifled a nervous laugh. "Oh, here's another one," Alex continued, pretending to scan the page. He'll never find out. He trusts me too much. I feel bad lying, but I need this excitement in my life. Lisa's head snapped up, her face twisting in horror. "Alex, stop. This isn't." "Oh, but it is, Lisa." His voice cut through hers with an authority that silenced the room. "Every single word, every little lie, it's all here. And the best part? Brian's been using the same sweet nothings on you that he uses on his wife." A collective murmur rippled through the crowd as all eyes turned to Brian, who now looked like a man caught in a burning building with no way out. And then, Sarah stepped forward. The moment Brian's wife spoke, his shoulders tensed. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, her voice trembling with fury and betrayal. "You told me you were working late. You made me feel guilty for questioning you. And all along, you were sneaking around like a coward." Brian opened his mouth, but no words came out. His usual confident, smooth-talking demeanor had vanished. Lisa turned to Brian in desperation. "You told me you were leaving her," she blurted out, her voice frantic. "You said she didn't make you happy anymore, that we were meant to be together." Sarah let out a bitter laugh.
Wow.
"So that's the line you fed her, huh? Funny, he told me you were just a fling. That he'd never leave his family for someone like you." Lisa stumbled back as if she had been slapped. "You're lying," she whispered, shaking her head. "Brian, tell her." Brian didn't move.
He didn't speak.
His silence was damning. That was when Lisa snapped. With a strangled scream, she grabbed a half-full champagne glass from the table and hurled it at Brian. He ducked just in time, but the glass shattered against the floor, splashing champagne across his expensive suit. "You lied to me?" Lisa shrieked. "You said we had a future." Brian, finally regaining his voice, sneered. "Oh, come on, Lisa. You knew what this was. Don't act so innocent." Gasps filled the room. Lisa staggered back, shaking with rage and humiliation. Her friends, the same ones she had once confided in, now looked at her with pity, embarrassment, or barely concealed judgment. Alex, watching the scene unfold, felt something shift inside him. Relief. He had envisioned this moment over and over again, but nothing had prepared him for the sheer poetic justice of watching Lisa and Brian turn on each other like cornered animals. Satisfied, he let out a slow breath and took a final sip of his drink before setting the glass down. "Well," he said, his voice carrying over the chaos, "I'd say that about wraps things up." He turned to Lisa, his expression unreadable. "Oh, and by the way, I already filed for divorce. You can keep Brian." With that, he turned on his heel and walked out, leaving behind nothing but destruction in his wake. The party was in utter chaos as Alex stepped outside, the cool night air hitting his face like a fresh start. He felt lighter than he had in weeks, months even. The weight of Lisa's betrayal had been suffocating, but now, watching her world crumble just as she had shattered his trust, he finally felt a sense of closure. Behind him, the sounds of shouting still echoed through the venue. He glanced back through the large glass windows just in time to see Lisa standing in the center of the room, looking lost and humiliated. Some of her so-called friends had moved away from her, whispering amongst themselves. Others simply shook their heads, no longer willing to stand beside her now that her perfect little world had come crashing down. And Brian? He was trying and failing to do damage control. Sarah, his wife, had dumped the contents of her drink onto his head before storming out, leaving him standing there, drenched, looking like a fool. Alex chuckled under his breath. Couldn't have planned it better if he tried. He made his way to his car, but just as he reached the door, he heard hurried footsteps behind him. "Alex, wait." Lisa's voice. He paused, gripping the car door handle, but didn't turn around immediately. "Please," she said, her voice breaking. Just talk to me." Slowly, he turned to face her. She was a mess, her makeup smudged, her expensive dress wrinkled, her entire demeanor screaming desperation. I don't even know what to say," she stammered. "You blindsided me. In front of everyone." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Oh, kind of like how you blindsided me by sneaking around with Brian." Lisa flinched. "I was wrong, okay? I was stupid. But Alex, you have to understand. I never wanted to lose you." He let out a cold laugh. "Funny way of showing it. I got caught up in something I didn't understand," she pleaded. "It wasn't about love, it was... I don't know, I was just... selfish," he finished for her. "You were selfish, Lisa.
And you didn't think about me.
You didn't think about what it would do to me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I know I hurt you, but can't we at least talk about this?" Alex took a deep breath, staring at the woman he had once loved more than anything. The woman he had built a life with, trusted, believed in. And yet, here she was, only fighting for him now that her world was falling apart. "No, Lisa," he said, his voice calm but firm. "There's nothing left to talk about." Her lower lip trembled. "You don't mean that." "I do," he said simply. "I meant what I said inside. I've already filed for divorce. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them." A broken sob escaped her lips. "Alex, please." But he had nothing left to give her. Without another word, he opened his car door, got inside, and started the engine. Lisa stood there, frozen, her expression shifting from pleading to realization. She knew.
She knew this was the end.
As Alex pulled out of the parking lot, he didn't look back. For the first time in a long time, he was free.